Thank you for tuning in. If this is your first time joining us, welcome. We hope your experience is fruitful. Please feel free to visit our website to find out how you can join our growing family. While we are loading your experience, please do us a quick favor and hit that like button from whichever platform you're watching or listening on. Also, share so others may enjoy as well. And we hope you would consider hitting that subscribe or follow button so you can check out more of our amazing content. All right, let's start the show.
And you better talk to me nicely. Next to blow, little bitch, I might be. Oh, can't forget all the days they overpriced me. So now that we up, don't get advice, we know. Talk to me nicely. I know that they hit it, we getting icy. Whoa, can't forget all the moments they overpriced me. So now that we up, don't get advice, we know. We on top, flipping the bird, they going sick. But I'ma make them eat every.
Hey, everybody. It is Giselle, and we are back with another episode of I Have Thoughts. Now, let me tell y'all something. What I don't like is that myself and my producers spend days, right, coming up with the content and the gossip. And I was told, okay, that my best episode was the episode where I got on here and spilled my guts and poured my tea to y'all. Okay, let me tell y'all something. Okay, let me tell y'all how I don't like that y'all got y'all butt on here to listen to me have a mental breakdown. I don't care how much how much it helped you, okay? But y'all got y'all butt on here to watch me have this mental breakdown. And y'all did so in record numbers. Now, I know it seems like I'm reading y'all, but let me tell y'all something. I'm very happy about that, right? And it's because when we came up with this show, because we wanted to do something different than what I'm always doing. You know, like I'm always like kind of sort of like navigating the conversations based off of what other people want me to talk about. And I get a chance to come on here and talk about the things that are important to me. And obviously you all resonated with that. So shouts out to y'all for making last episode, which was also a repeat. So, you know, but shouts out to y'all for making that last episode that I did one of my most watched episodes. And I really appreciate y'all for like resonating with me in that and going on that journey with me. But today, we got to talk about the policing of Black women and femininity and Black women's bodies, okay? Like, let's get into it. So I took 2 weeks off from social media. If you follow me on social media, you damn lie. But if you know about the work that I intentionally do on social media, then you understand that like I've been gone for 2 weeks. And for 2 weeks, you know, for me, that's a long time. And in the time that I was gone, a couple of things popped up. And rather than talk about them directly, I wanted to talk about how I think that there's an overarching conversation here. And one of those things was Keke Palmer and her baby daddy. Okay. Now, when we talk about the ways in which that Black women show up in the world, and the ways in which that Black women's bodies are policed in the world, and then also the ways in which that femininity works in the world, we have to also talk about the ways in which the world does not see Black women as inherently feminine, right? And when I say the world, understand that I am making a general statement, yes, right? But does this mean that this statement is an actual fact? Absolutely not. Right? This is me stating that for a majority of people who are interacting with Black women, they do not see us as inherently feminine beings. Now, there's somebody that's going to roll their eyes because they know that I'm transgender, and they're going to say something like, well, you are not inherently feminine because you a man, girl. Forget me, okay? And just listen to what I have to say. Whether you see me as a woman or not, there's plenty of people that do. And so forget where the message is coming from and just try to hear what I'm saying in this particular moment. And what I'm saying in this particular moment is that as Black women maneuver through the world, as Black women maneuver through Black space, as Black women maneuver through white spaces, any space outside of being in community with other Black women feels as if your femininity has to be spoken, worked, presented in a certain way in order for that femininity to be valid. But especially when we're having conversations around or because of or that were thwarted by men, right? Doesn't matter what race, creed, or color. We have to recognize that a lot of these people do not like the idea that Black women do not look like a stereotypical princess in distress, constantly waiting on Prince Charming to come and save her. And that happens in a multitude of different ways. It happens in ways where they understand that a lot of us are vocally, right, prepared to stand up for ourselves. A lot of us are mentally prepared to stand up for ourselves. A lot of us are physically capable of standing up for ourselves. A lot of us have the capacity to make it through the struggle, right, no matter what that struggle looks like. And I think that there are so many people that take those things and inherently deem them as masculine, right? And a large part of the reason why I do not necessarily subscribe to stereotypical storybook femininity is because femininity was not built to uplift and uphold and make Black women feel like we were desirable. Femininity was made to make white women who didn't want to work and desired to be kept by people because their only goal in life was to be somebody's mama. It was made to make them feel like they were more important than they actually were. It was made to make them feel like they were more than baby making factories. You have to think about it. When white men and the white, diaspora and the white social construct decided to create the word feminine, why? Why did they need to create a word for something that women, right, were supposed to inherently be, right? If men couldn't be this thing, if nobody else could be this thing but women, then why did we need to put it out there into the space and the ethos to describe what femininity was? And it's because housewives got sick and tired of sitting at home and feeling useless. They got sick and tired of feeling like all they were doing was making babies and pies and putting them in the windowsill for them to cool while their husband did all of the fun things and came home with all the adventures. And so what white men started to tell their wives was that it is utter femininity, right, for you to serve me. For you to be the most womanly that you can ever be seen as by anybody else, I'm going to give it a title, and that title includes femininity. But when you look into femininity, and we're talking about in the social sense, not in the dictionary book sense, right? When you look into femininity, what are a lot of the qualities that people like to bring up when it comes down to femininity and feminine qualities? All of these things that make you less than a man. All of these things that make you subservient to a man. All of these things that justify why it's okay for you to be a baby-making machine and nothing else. And therefore, Black women inherently, right, are not a part of that definition, because when you think about the ways in which society has told Black women that we have to be, and when you think about the circumstances that a lot of us have befell upon, that does not serve us. We cannot afford to just be the woman at home baking the pies and the cakes and all of those things. And there are a plethora of reasons why Black women cannot always afford to just be those things. This ain't that video. That's another video for another day. But what I can say is that when we talk about what it means to be feminine, Black women ultimately always get the shit end of the stick. And I like to think that in this particular instance with Keke Palmer and her baby daddy, because he's not her husband, he's her baby daddy, right? And this particular instance with Keke and her baby daddy, I know what y'all see right there, but that's her baby daddy, okay? In this particular instance that we see with Keke and her baby daddy, there is a need to once again police her femininity while she's engaging in what we can all see and what we can all acknowledge as one of her most feminine motherfucking eras to date. Right? We have never seen Keke so rest assured in herself. We have never seen Keke feeling so sexy. We have never seen Keke being so boisterous about the way that she looks. A lot of the time, we can see Keke talking about how confident she is and how confident you got to be and how to navigate this world and doing all of the things and this, that, and the third. But we've never really seen Keke pop her shit about feeling like she's a bad bitch, right? And the second that she decides that she wants to take a little moment and thank her son for making her the bad bitch she's always wanted to be, here come this motherfucker policing femininity. Because you're a mother. And so why this outfit? And I'm not going to regurgitate the talking points that y'all have heard for the last 2 weeks because like I said, I've been off, right? And so y'all have already watched the videos about this. You have already formulated your conversations. You've already been in the group chat. But what I want to say is that this conversation is sparking a larger conversation about the ways in which Black women are allowed to show up. Because if you show up in a way that is too sexy, they will find an excuse to discredit the fact that you are just feeling sexy and good about yourself and make it about you being a thought, a negligent mother, a negligent parent altogether, and not having self-respect. Howsoever, in the case of a lot of other people, like Miss Michelle Peacock, that's not what it is. You see, if you don't show up in a way that is feminine enough for other people, they think that they can kill you. Some of you all are like, what are you talking about? Who is Michelle Peacock, right? Her full name is Michelle Dion Peacock. And this woman, I believe, is 56 years old. She's a Black woman, okay? Black woman, and I'm going to give y'all the clip or the picture of this beautiful woman here. Now, when you look at this beautiful woman here, there's nothing about this woman that says man to me. There's nothing about this woman that would scream anything other than femininity. But that's because I'm Black. And so I understand what femininity looks like on a Black woman. I understand what womanhood and what all of the things of the aura, right, look like on us. Whether or not you're a trans woman, a non-binary femme, whatever the case may be, you know what I'm saying? I understand that this right here is femininity, regardless of how you want to see her features or whatever the case may be. But that was not the case for Miss Michelle's attacker. You see, her femininity didn't show up in a way that made sense to him. And so he convinced himself that she was transgender. And not only did this man convince himself that she was transgender and it was a problem, but he convinced himself that not only was her being transgender a problem, but it was so much so of a problem that he had to do away with her life. So fuck her family, right? Fuck the people that are expecting her to come home. Fuck the people that depend on her to pay bills and get cell phone bills paid. Fuck the grandchildren that she probably got. Fuck all of the things that she had planned for this week that she's not going to be able to get to do because you felt like she wasn't feminine enough, right? Fuck Kiki's career. Fuck the fact that she's been respectable for the last umpteen years since she was a child. Fuck the fact that most of the time Kiki is covered up. The most we've ever really seen of her is a midriff and maybe a little leg every now and then. Fuck the fact that this girl has a long-standing career of respectability while also being a household name because her femininity has to be tailored to that of the men around her. And the same way that Miss Michelle's here had to be tailored to the white man who decided that her femininity as a Black woman didn't meet his standards like he sees on white women, and so therefore her life was less important. Let's go ahead and off this bitch because I think she used to be a man. And in the event that she was, which she wasn't, because I know that some of you all still might look at this picture and go, well, are you sure? Check your transmissia. Check your transmissia and check it now. It does not matter whether or not this woman was trans. The issue is that her femininity was put into question. And the second that she failed to pass the test of one person, that one person felt it necessary, right? It wasn't like he thought he had a choice. He felt it necessary to eradicate this woman because he assumed that her femininity was manufactured. Make it make the fuck sense. Because in what other race and what other world and what other group of people do we have to justify the femininity of their women in order for their women to be protected, and then have to turn around and have people on the internet then questioning whether or not it was the right decision to make because of how this woman's femininity shows up? Because contrary to popular belief, after all of these things, right? After all of these things popped off, after all of this stuff happened, people had to re-release their articles and specifically name that this woman was not transgender for Black people to give a fuck. And the comments shifted as well. And that's why this week I'm not talking about the hot topics, right? I'm talking about the things that are underneath the hot topics. I'm talking about the fact of the matter that femininity as it pertains to Black women is not a sacred fucking thing. Everybody is secure in their position. Everybody is secure in who the fuck they are. All of the other women from all of the other races get to be women however the fuck they see fit to be women. The trans women from other races get to be women however the fuck they see fit to be trans women. All of those people are respected. But you come over here to be Black and you even think that you have any claim to femininity whatsoever? Oh, bitch, you better be ready to prove that shit. You better be able to make the pies, have the babies, give a birth certificate, be passable. And if you're none of those things, then I guess you're disposable. Then I guess you are a bad mom. Then I guess the shade room might as well have their way with you this week, because at the end of the day, femininity does not belong to you, Black girl. Femininity does not belong to you, Black trans girl. Femininity does not belong to Black women as a whole, no matter what part of the spectrum that they sit on. And so, as I get ready to move into the next portion of my conversation, I want you to think about the first time that you heard the word femininity. And then think about the image that you associated with it. And ask yourself, was she light-skinned? Was she white? And did she remind you of the women that you see on a regular basis that sit in the schoolyards, that operate as security, that help you cross the street? Because if they didn't, Houston, we've got a problem. Be back after this commercial break.
Talk to me nicely, Next to blow, little bitch, I might be. Oh, can't forget all the days they overpriced me.
This episode is sponsored in part by Bullet and Flight Radio. Get ready to uplift your spirit with Bullet and Flight Radio, the world's leading progressive Christian radio station. Experience the vibrant fusion of gospel house music and a rich medley of inspiration from all musical genres that'll make your heart soar. Join their extraordinary lineup of today's trailblazers, visionaries, and voices that matter, all sharing their stories and wisdom. Stay plugged in around the clock as they broadcast unmissable content 24/7. Your go-to station for all things inspiring. Become a pilot today by visiting bulletandflightradio.com. Bullet and Flight Radio. Your story, our station. Step away from the chaos and noise of your daily life. Experience moments for yourself that are calm, serene, and full of peace. A necessary respite to foster growth within you, because self-care should be luxurious. Luxe Noir.
I noticed they hit it, we getting icy. Whoa, can't forget all the moments they overpriced me. So now that we up, don't get it.
All right, y'all. So I am back, okay? And this week we are talking about all of the things that pertains to Black femininity, Black women, and how Black femininity is not the same, right? For Black folks, Black women, Black girls, okay? And I talked a little bit about Keke Palmer and the baby daddy situation. I know I'm late, but like I said, it's not about the situation. It's about the underlying tones of the conversation. I also made some of you all aware of the situation that we have going on with Miss Michelle Dion Peacock, who was a 56-year-old Black woman who was killed by a white supremacist because he assumed that she was transgender. Now, mind you, she was not. And mind you, Keke Palmer is not a bad Black mother because she decided that she wanted to get up in a little sheer dress and dance with Usher, right? But the running theme for both of these women is that their femininity was put into question. Keke's was put into question because at the end of the day, her femininity and her ability to be subservient to a man that gave her a child was not enough for the overall vast majority of people in public. While a lot of people did not care for the outfit, more people spent their time dissecting the idea that she belonged to this man. And so therefore he had a right to feel some type of way. And other people spent a lot of time clowning him. But let's just be honest. There was a lot of respectability politics happening in this conversation, even with people who came to Keke Palmer's aid. Her femininity was definitely up on the chopping block because people felt like, yeah, well, he might not have been able, or he might not should have said that on, social media, but he had every right to say it. Because why are Black women not the same way that white women are when it pertains to not embarrassing your man? Then, in the case of Miss Michelle, you have somebody who decided that her femininity didn't look the way that he felt like it should. He felt like she needed to prove that she was a woman to him. He felt like, in other words, right, the way that femininity looks on women and the way that femininity looked on her was not up to his standards. And so she was disposable. Now I want to get into something that's even more jarring, right? There's a situation that's been going around with the blue-faced man, child. And the blue-faced man, unfortunately, for the child, but we love the child's life because the child didn't ask to be here. But unfortunately, this is his father. Okay. And so the blue-faced man has a child. Beautiful baby, ridiculous looking dad. Okay. And there's a video that I refuse to show because I think that if you are a queer person who has ever had less than welcoming parents, you understand exactly where this came from, okay? And you've probably had this conversation with your own unaffirming parents or parent or father figures. But in this video, Blueface, once again, right, brings up the idea of femininity and how femininity shows up in Black men. But in this particular instance, he talks about how there is an innate fear of the femininity that shows up in his Black son because his Black son, who is a fucking child, a toddler, as you can see, is playing in a pantry and looking for snacks, right? Rather than trying to be the snack of some overage strippers that he has in the home to, I presume, I guess, keep him entertained. But the idea that his toddler would rather be eating wrap snacks and fruit snacks and all of the snacks, maybe even an old pack of Dunkaroos, because there was nothing in this pantry that this baby was searching through, you know, boggles his mind. And so instead of talking to him, right, about the idea of being a child and maybe watching Coco Melon, this grown-ass man questions a toddler about why he's not in the living room looking at old stripper ass and smelling twat from 2 days ago at the strip club. It doesn't make sense to me that then his femininity as a young toddler, I'm not gonna even say a young Black boy, he's a fucking baby. He is a fucking baby. He needs a step stool to get the snacks that he was trying to get off the top fucking shelter, counter of the goddamn pantry. He's a baby. And because he wasn't indulging in what I would assume that any other adult would say was adult behavior, right? You have this man questioning his son at toddler age about whether or not he's gay and then giving him a hand clap of praise for it. But these are the same people that will turn around and say, I don't have an issue with femininity. I don't care how you are. I don't X, Y, and Z. I don't have a problem with the LGBT, all of these things. But then I catch you policing femininity in your young Black boy instead of giving him ways to navigate it. Now, I understand that as parents, y'all, we know how this world works before our kids know how this world works. I understand that as parents, you are worried about the behavior of other people because of the behavior that your child might exhibit, and you don't want your child to end up in a situation where people are doing, treating, saying, acting a certain type of way towards them because of a behavior that they don't even know that they should probably have reservations about. But what I don't like is that in the Black community, any form of femininity within young Black boys is often beat out, right? Or made to, or at a very early age, you are made to feel that there is something wrong with the way that you are behaving. Now, in this particular instance, nobody's thinking of the fact that, like, the next time that these women come to the house, this young boy might be made to feel like he has to sit there and watch whatever the fuck this is going on, because the last time, I'm not sure why daddy was in my grill, but he was in my grill and I don't want that no more. And so now this young man grows up believing that femininity, right, is all that femininity is anyone in the form, right, of a woman who is willing to entertain him and his sexual desires. This is what we don't understand, that we are teaching young Black men about femininity. So outside of telling women that your femininity has to be encapsulated for your man, that your femininity has to look a certain way or you're in danger, and that your femininity can only exist if you were born female, We are also telling young Black men and young Black girls that your femininity is only as valid as the person, male presumably, right, that you are entertaining with said femininity. If you're not using your ass and titties to entertain a man, it's not feminine. If you are not entertaining femininity by degrading her, she ain't feminine enough for you. And so when it comes down to having this conversation with Black people and amongst Black people, when do we learn and when do we start to have healthy conversations about what it means to tackle femininity as women and to have healthy conversations about what femininity means as men? And I tell y'all, I just don't know when it's going to start. Because at the end of the day and at the beginning of the morning, whenever we wake up and when the sun fucking rises, we all have different things that make each other unique. Right? Some women exude femininity in hyper ways. Other women exude femininity in micro ways. There are some boys, right? There are some males that exude femininity in a way that is innate to them. There are some women that exude femininity in a way that appears to be masculine, right? But I think that what we all need to be mindful of is that you don't get to tell a motherfucker how they get to show up in their own motherfucking skin and what is or isn't based on your lived experience. You don't get to dictate to Keke Palmer whether or not she's a feminine woman based off of what you believe women should do when they have children and a baby daddy at home. You don't get to dictate to a Black woman that you see out and about minding her motherfucking business whether or not you think she's a woman because you are uncomfortable by her bone structure, the texture of her hair, her skin tone, how tall she might be, the size of her hands and her feet, whatever the fuck the case may have been that led this asshole to kill Miss Michelle Dion Peacock. You don't get to police somebody's femininity in the public just because. And you certainly do not get to traumatize your son into believing that the only way to see women and the only way to see femininity is through the lens of disrespect to people who he has no choice but to feel like he has to engage in within a certain and specific way because his father is telling him that this is the only way that you can respect yourself and women. The math has simply stopped mathing. And I'm getting sad, afraid, upset, tired, and over it because what I can say, you all, is that at the very end of the day, if we don't start to have real conversations about what it means to actually hold space for femininity to exist in duality within the Black culture, we are going to miss out on it. Women are going to stop feeling like they need to do anything in the Black community because there's going to be no space to be feminine, whether you're trying to be a hoe, and we love the hoes, whether you're trying to be a housewife, and we love them too, or whether you're trying to be somewhere in the middle, right? And we love that as well. There's not going to be any space for men to feel like they can exude vulnerability because vulnerability is also intact with femininity. And so if I'm told that I cannot be feminine, then guess what? I can't show vulnerability. Then guess what? We have more fathers like Mr. Blueface. We've got to do better. And if we're going to toss things around like making space for real women, making space for natural born women, making space for the divine femininity, because all of these other people are coming in and trying to tell us and dictate to us and do all of these things at X, Y, and Z, we had to have a conversation about the ways in which that femininity was not even built for our culture and for our people to begin with. So, here are my final thoughts. Take the time to acknowledge all of the things about you and yourself. Do not let the world dictate to you how you have to show up. And contrary to popular belief, this video was not just for the women in the room that were watching. This video was not just for the cis people in the room that were watching. This video was not tailored to my transgender sisters or my gay brothers. This video was about my community understanding and embracing the idea that femininity has to be rewritten and reworked for us. It has to be told by us. and it has to be maintained through a lens that only we understand. The second that we go into these wars and these debates around language, speaking from the European or Eurocentric definitions of them, we've already lost. And in certain cases, we lose our partners. In other cases, we unfortunately lose our lives. And so, I'm gonna leave you with this. Think about the last time you looked at a woman or a man or somebody in space and told them that what they were doing wasn't ladylike, was too feminine, or made them appear like something you didn't agree with, simply because you knew that nobody would police you for saying it. And then ask yourself, if somebody had questioned your humanity and the way that you showed up in that exact same way, if you would be okay with that. Like I say this time and every time, peace, love, and hope, and have the day that you deserve. Bye, everybody.
Talk to me nicely. I noticed they heated, we getting icy. Whoa, can't forget all the moments they overpriced me. So now that we up, don't good advice, we know.